The Chicago Bulls actually show a little bit of heart having a lead after the first half against the Golden State Warriors, but what the hell was that in the second half of this game? Me and Pat are going to talk about it all and more on today's Locked On Bulls.
You are Locked On Bulls, your daily Chicago Bulls podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for tuning in to Locked On Bulls, member of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every single day. I'm Hayes, host and creator of Chicago Bulls Central and Chicago Bears Central YouTube pages and podcasts. And that's Pat the designer, host and creator of the Windy City Breeze, and host of the Chicago Bears podcast over at ESPN 1000. And today's episode is brought to you guys by FanDuel. From the first whistle to the final drive, FanDuel makes the NFL playoffs even more exciting. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Pat, I listen. This was the game. You know, like there comes a time in every Chicago sports season, because all our teams reach this point at some point where you're just like, all right, cool. It is what it is for the rest of this year. I really don't care anymore. The Bulls got completely cooked in the second half of this game by Steph Curry, who scored, I think, 10 points in the second half. But then, a couple of weeks ago when we lost to the Atlanta Hawks without most of their lineup, I said we lost to the Atlanta Hawks stunt doubles. Today it was more than just that. Like Quentin Post, shout out to him, because he may have just made the Warriors' pursuit of Nikola Vucevic all null and void, but we'll talk about that here in the second segment. The second half of this game, it came out in the third quarter. We get outscored, only scored 16 points in the third quarter of this game, and really the Bulls never regained the momentum after that point. How you feeling about this game, Pat?
My biggest takeaway from this game is you're playing too many players that are not important to the flow of the game. You're playing way too many players on the floor that just aren't important to the flow of the game. Let's start it off with the obvious one. Patrick Williams. Why are you out there? Why are you on the floor? Bro, it feels like I'm picking on him at this point.
No, you're not. You're not, because I talked about this over on Central. For example, Buzelis plays, averages right now still around 11 minutes per game. Basically, he's averaging almost half of P. Will's minutes. In that time, he has a better defensive rating. He makes more impact. Players are actually scoring on him less. Players are scoring on average, Pat. On average, my guy, 9 second chance points against Patrick Williams a game. He's allowing for 71% at the rim defensively. Players are shooting almost 4% now, higher than their season averages when they're guarding P. Will. The one thing that we can make a conversation for P. Will is that he impacted the game defensively. He's not doing that anymore. Buzelis, through blocks, steals, turnovers that are being forced, and allowing for a lower percentage at the rim and in pick and roll defense, is arguably having a better impact in less time than Patrick Williams. There's no more excuse or rhyme or reason. I'm sorry, I know I cut you off in your point. I'm just that fed up about it. We've sat there on this podcast for 3 years, and about a year in, when you finally got to the point of calling P. Will a bust, I'm like, Pat, you're too hard on him. No, at this point, he got both the brothers on him now. I'm done. I'm over P. Will. There's no more defense for P. Will. None.
There's no heart in him. There's no defense. There's no heart. There's no want to. I'm sorry, you're too big to look like that. You're a useless giraffe. Like you're too big and too strong to be on the court and look like that. Maybe it will be a change of scenery that finally unlocks Patrick Williams, but I'll tell you what, it's not going to happen here. And if you're going to deal with somebody who can't get the shot, can't get his game going offensively, you might as well put Buzelis out there, who also can't do anything offensively right now, but at least can go out there and give you some solid defensive minutes like we believe Patrick Williams is supposed to be doing. But he's not the only one that I put on this list. I mean, you've got a team of role players. And that's really what it is. And when you're playing the Golden State Warriors, that's what it's going to come down to no matter what. You don't have enough talent. Zach LaVine did not play well enough. The Bulls turned the ball over entirely too much to even have a conversation. Well, I shouldn't say that. They only had 11 turnovers, but the timing of those turnovers were perfect to just absolutely get you cooked. I thought that tonight, the heart you felt when they realized the game was done. Yeah. Like when it got in that third quarter and the Warriors went on their run, You felt the Bulls go, it's over.
That's it.
That's it. There it is. We're out of this one. And listen, if you've got players on the floor that can do that, and I'm calling everybody out for this tonight. I mean, I would assume you were absolutely horrible. I get it. You're guarding Stephen Curry. So maybe that makes it a little bit worse. But you basically had zero impact on the floor tonight. I mean, Jalen Smith, I'm glad you got that cardio in there, Sticks. Multiple mental mistakes in this game. When I look at Dalen Terry, good job for existing, I guess. That's kind of how I felt his impact was in the game. Like the fact that I can go through this entire list of players and say, you were useless tonight, you were useless tonight, you were useless tonight, that's a problem. And this isn't just a bad game. This is the season. This is the last 3 seasons. This is too many games of these same players being these guys. And I get it. We like Ayo Dosunmu. Maybe he can be the Alex Caruso. Maybe he can be that guy that steps up in that moment. He's not that guy. He's going to be a solid role player that is worth being on the team. I get it. We like Kobe White. Kobe didn't even play tonight, but Kobe's got to catch this business too. He's too inconsistent to be somebody that you rely on. Look at the team that you have. Tonight is the team that you have. That's the reality of this basketball team. It's not just that you played the Warriors tonight. You know, you played the Warriors tonight on a second of a back-to-back in a Sacramento game that was incredibly competitive.
And they have more energy than you down in every facet of the game down the stretch of this game. The Bulls had an extra day of rest than what they would have had because the Clippers game got moved up, and the Warriors, because of the scheduling thing that the NBA did, you got to catch the Warriors on the second of a back-to-back, and they outworked you in every facet of the game in the second half of this game, period. There's no excuse for the lack of energy. If you lose a game, but you're out there scrapping, cool, it is what it is. We'll say it wasn't your night. We'll talk about it. We'll review it. But when you literally, with a whole quarter left of basketball to play, everybody can see that you guys looking on the sideline like, yeah, hey, it's not our night tonight. Why? You don't play again until, if I'm not mistaken, do we not play again until Saturday, right?
Till Saturday, I believe.
So you got another complete off day. You still got to travel. Is it different that we play on Saturday? I think.
Let me double check, but I believe you are correct. Next game, Philly? Yeah, Philly on the 25th in Chicago.
This team is just so utterly frustrating. But you know what? It was said 35 game evaluation. The 35th game was the Derrick Rose night. We've been 3-7 since then. That was our NBA Finals. That was our Super Bowl. It's nothing else coming good. We're gonna have some wins in there that are gonna be shocking. They're gonna have some fun games in there. But I think we need to come to the realization the season ended, for all intents and purposes, on Derrick Rose night against the New York Knicks. They accomplished everything that they needed to accomplish there.
Here's the reality of this for me. And maybe people are going to look at this and say, Pat, it's just one game. You're overreacting to one game versus the Warriors where it was a bad game. You just had a good game the last outing versus the Clippers. Like, what are you talking about here? Here's my problem. I've been having these bad games for 4 seasons now. I've been having these moments where the bad game pops up for 4 seasons. Now, not to say bad games don't pop up during the season, but they shouldn't all look just like this. It shouldn't be a consistent problem that is the exact same problem of heart every time you hit the floor. At this point, if you have been on the Chicago Bulls for more than 3 years, you should be on another team. Because clearly this is not the team you want to play for. And that's the reality of this. Name me the player on this team that's worth keeping. That's not a young asset that you hope is going to turn into something.
I still think Ayo's still worth keeping. I get what you're getting at, but I think Ayo still is a player that is a two-way player that does put up really good numbers when he's a starter, and he puts up solid numbers. Like I'm giving him a little bit more credit than you are right now because I do think that he's working himself back from injury. But I do think Ayo's worth keeping on this team. Modest, you said less than 3 years though. Modest is definitely worth keeping. That goes without saying. I'm still in the Kobe. Like I know Kobe's a wildly inconsistent player. I think he's worth keeping for now. You got another year into that contract comes up. You got to make a decision there. But at that point, I listen. Zach
4 dudes.
Yeah. I mean, of course, Zach and Vooch are worth keeping if we were going to be competitive, but we're not. Despite the amazing seasons that Zach and Vooch have had, we're on pace to win 34 games. 34.
It's 34. It's literally Ayo Dosunmu, who's solid.
Mm-hmm.
Kobe White, who's inconsistent, but maybe he'll be a scorer for you. Modest and is it 3 dudes?
I'll still say Julian only because
Julian is under 3 years on this team.
Yeah. Oh, true.
Dalen Terry can go.
3. Yeah.
Dalen Terry, you can don't let the door hit you on the way out.
Yeah,
Don't make
Dalen.
it.
I still like Dalen. Like, don't get me wrong, I like Dalen as like a person, but like the potential as Dalen has always been greater than the results of Dalen. And at some point, you just got to admit that.
Here's the thing: we like the energy that Dalen brings. Energy don't confuse activity with accomplishment.
That's very true.
The Dalen Terry that's 1 for 3 with 2 assists, 1 foul, and a -6 plus minus is the Dalen Terry we get more nights than not. Dalen Terry just do a lot of hand motions on defense, and so everybody's like, "Oh no, he's active. He's one of our defenders." Not really. He gets cooked quite often. Like, you can't confuse activity with accomplishment. You have a heck of a lot of activity on here. If we confuse an activity with accomplishment, put Leroy Carter back out there. Let him run the rest of the season.
All right, we're gonna next up talk about Vooch maybe failing his audition, I should say, with the Golden State Warriors. But first, we got to get some message from one of our sponsors, and that is FanDuel. From the first whistle to the final drive, FanDuel makes the NFL playoffs even more exciting. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win your first bet. That's $300 to keep the action going. The FanDuel app is easy to navigate, and the variety of bets keeps every game exciting. Plus, when you win, you get paid instantly. No waiting around for your winnings. Plus, I know some of y'all are betting to try to make that rent money. The fact that you don't have to wait to get your money, FanDuel's trying to help you pay that rent. Whether you're betting on your favorite team or just looking to add some extra excitement to the playoffs, FanDuel has you covered. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today and get started with $300 in bonus bets. That's FanDuel.com. Make this playoff season unforgettable with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. More Locked On Bulls coming up next. Betting to make the rent money, man. That's a dangerous proposition.
I saw a dude. I can't confirm nor deny this, but I'm fairly sure he lost the rent money on a bet after one of the NFL playoff games, and his woman definitely left him at the Twin Peaks. I'm almost 100% certain he lost the rent money on a parlay.
It was when you were out here. Was that the Twin Peaks out here?
No. This was when I was watching the playoffs out here. But it was one of them moments where it was like she was laying into him, and all I could hear was, "I can't believe you bet." And then all he could do was look up and go, "No, I get it."
Because the reason I asked that, because old buddy who was sitting next to us when we were at the Twin Peaks out here, he seemed like one of the guys that lost rent money and a girl on a bet. He seemed like that. So, you know.
No, he actually made some bread off fantasy. I was sitting next to him for a minute. He had the fantasy bets in, or the fantasy football league in, and he was in the championship, and he needed like some obscure player to go off, and he caught like 2 touchdowns on one of the guys. I don't even remember who it was. I think it was a Giants player. I was like, "You in trouble." And then he caught 2 tutties. I was like, "Oh my goodness." But hey, I digress.
By the way, that dude definitely been to a couple of black barbecues in his life too, by the way.
No, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. But
like, no
somebody who may not be invited to the barbecue with the Golden State Warriors is Nikola Vucevic. Now, not only did Vuce not have a great game tonight, I want to be clear there. It is what it is. Some of that is coaching not going to him. The fact he only had 9 shots today, you can look at his inactivity or blame that on coaching, whatever it is. But a player on this team, a young post player in Quentin Post, who was a second-round pick, who's only played 7 games this season at all, 7 foot, 250 pounds, went completely off against the Chicago Bulls in the second half of this game. This is the second game in a row he's had a big game. He's had a good game last night as well. He was 5 of 10 from three-point shooting. Steve Kerr last night talked about the importance of having a big and how that helps having a big that can pass and knock down shots. And when he said that after last night's game, I was like, hey, that kind of lines up with Vooch. But now you got this young emerging player. Let me ask you this, Pat. If the Warriors' interest in Vooch was real, which is still some doubts, again, because take every rumor with a grain of salt, the last 2 games and the performance by Quentin Post, do you think this makes the Warriors a little hesitant to trade assets when they have a young player that looks like he may be willing to able to contribute some of what Nikola Vucevic does?
I mean, listen, who was guarding him tonight?
He will, actually, with a lot of the possession.
Not a tough matchup.
Bro, The third time when they had P. Will guarding him, and this is how you know Pat, correct me if I'm wrong. P. Will's rookie year. What was one of the best things about P. Will's defense that you looked at and saw?
He shut Zion Williamson down.
Well, that was good.
That was the best. That was the best thing I saw. Like he was the only person I ever saw that realized you let Zion come like a bull in the china shop and then you chase him down. And I was like, this dude's a defensive genius. Like his brain works defensively.
But to me, it was the pick and roll defense. P. Will used to show
too,
such good instincts on pick and rolls. Quentin Post several times. It was just a simple pick and pop, and P. Will was like, I don't know who to guard. And that was the moment to me that, again, not to go, we just went in on P. Will. But okay, to get back to this, Vooch, the Warriors, if they had interest in Vooch, do you think that interest has stayed the same? Did it get worse or did it get better after this game?
I think your interest is the same because, listen, he's only really played in 3 games. 2 of them he's played solid, but defensively has been a liability. He got an advantage tonight guarding Patrick Williams and guarding Vooch in a horrible game. Very uncharacteristic. I mean, bunnies left at the rim for Vooch tonight. When you have that moment, it makes your life a little bit easier. And of course, this is his best game. What is it? 20 and how many rebounds he have tonight? 20 and 5. If that sold you on the future of this young man, knowing what you know about the Bulls defensively, I would question that Steve Kerr and the Warriors brass up top is paying attention to NBA basketball. I don't think that this changes any minds about if you were going to go after Vooch. No matter what you do, we know that on a night in, night out basis, Vooch can outperform this young man. In fact, I would bring Vooch in as one of those guys that you have this young man coming off the bench and say, listen, young fella, this is how you make this move here. What I do like about Quentin Post's game was, this is going to sound cheesy, was his ability and footwork in his post game.
No, I mean, that's basketball. That's basketball.
It's a great name for a big man. Quentin Post is an elite name. You got to be good in the post.
Bro, you got to be good in the post. Yeah.
I really liked his footwork. I thought he had good footwork at the top of the key as well. That's somebody that you want to bring in and have Vooch mentor and say, hey, let me show you how this move works. Let me show you how you can get away with this. And the advantage that he has, probably same weight as Vooch and has a little bit more height that Vooch does, a little bit more length on the arms as well. Some of those moves that Vooch does, I think, could really benefit him. If I'm the Warriors, I'm bringing him in to say, hey, Vooch, we got you here through the duration of your contract, which is 3 more years. And then
only 1 more year. Vooch is done after the end of the next season.
That was the extension?
Yeah, we gave him 3 years. This is the second year of a 3rd year extension.
I don't know why I thought he had 1 more year on that. Okay. But either way, this is, so you bring him in basically as a bridge center, show this young man some stuff. And eventually, I think if you're heading into next season and Quentin Post proves to be the number 1, you bring Vucci off the bench. Why wouldn't you want to do that? That's an elite bench player that can get the job done for you. To me, I don't think it deterred any want to if you want to go get a guy that can be elite in that role. And I think Vooch is perfect for a Warriors team like this.
I just want to make it mark for the official record. Pat just took 3 minutes to say no.
100%. 100%. You want to know why? Because we should have done this segment this morning, but somebody power went out. Somebody's the what?
I was about to make an elite point too.
Hey, you was about to go in on the point,
bro. So for those that missed out, I'm gonna say now here the point that I was gonna make literally right as the power went out. Which, by the way, for those that weren't there, a semi truck carrying cars went through several power lines through a parking lot and hit an apartment building as you enter my subdivision. Took the power out for 3 blocks. Yeah. 3 blocks the power was out, but nonetheless. I always thought that Nikola Vucevic made more sense for the Dallas Mavericks, not only for what he can bring offensively to that team, while they do have still have a defensive center when he's healthy and Derek Lively, but also the Mavericks have an added thing to look at in the fact that Nikola Vucevic is one of the best players in the league at guarding Nikola Jokic. And not to say that you trade for a player just because of one matchup, but when you're already one of the top teams in the Western Conference, you do start hunting out matchups. And say what you will about Vooch defensively against almost any type of mobile center, but Vooch is an elite defender when it comes to guarding Jokic.
He really is. It's so weird.
It's
Listen,
crazy.
Jokic's numbers against him are very human.
Yeah.
It's like 28-7 or something. I gotta look it up again. It's always confusing to me. But listen, I think again, for that same reasoning, who are the Warriors gonna have to go through if they want to get to an NBA Finals again?
Yeah.
You're gonna have to play Denver.
They gotta worry about getting so bro, it's even worse than you said. Throughout 13 games of their career, Nikola Jokic only averages 16 points, 10 rebounds, and 9 assists against Nikola Vucevic. And the shooting efficiency is not good. For as efficient as Jokic is as a player, 46% shooting against Nikola Vucevic for his career. That's crazy.
I'm telling you, I have been talking about this for 4 years. It's unexplainable to me. And when I tell you, it's not that like Jokic is just off those days or he's not going as hard. Vooch is playing like the most aggressive defense you've ever seen Vooch play. Which again tells you that he can play defense. He just don't want to.
Well, I mean, Jokic is a center that's also slow of foot like him. So I think it because there's other centers that that Vooch plays pretty good defense against that's similar. It's just if you're slightly mobile, Vooch ain't got nothing for you, bro. He ain't got nothing for you.
That's very true.
Yeah. But next up, we're gonna get to a message from another one of our sponsors, and this is Talkspace. All right. Whoa. What the hell just happened there?
Therapy is a game changer. It can help us manage stress, improve sleep, and communicate more effectively. But finding the right therapist and fitting sessions into a busy schedule can be a challenge. That's where Talkspace comes in. Talkspace, the leading virtual therapy provider, makes getting the help you need easy, accessible, and affordable. With Talkspace, signing up is simple. You can match with a licensed therapist who fits your needs, usually within 48 hours, and it's convenient. You can have the sessions from the comfort of your home and even message your therapist, almost said that word wrong, between appointments. Plus, Talkspace is covered by many insurance plans, and for most insured members, there is a $0 copay. It has never been easier to prioritize mental health. As a listener of this podcast, you'll get an $80 off a deal for your first month with Talkspace when you go to Talkspace.com/LockedOnNBA and enter the promo code SPACE80 to match with a licensed therapist. Go to Talkspace.com/LockedOnNBA and enter the promo code SPACE80 to get $80 off your first month and show your support for the show. That's Talkspace.com/LockedOnNBA, promo code SPACE80. We're Locked On Bulls right after this.
Go ahead, transition it. You can't,
you bastard. You bastard. I should have left the live from this morning running. Just let it run all day.
I mean, hey, ad revenue, bro. That would put some money in our pockets.
That's got to be a money thing. Like you just come back into the live, and we're back.
We're back. We just left it running all the day and just started the post game show just right from that same live.
You just leave a chat going. Just everybody in the chat rocking out. Shout out to the chat.
Oh man. All right. So Pat, you kind of touched on this a little bit, and I kind of already know the way that you're going to go on this one. The season is done. The season's cooked. The Bulls aren't going to accomplish much. We probably are going to make the play-in just because the Philadelphia 76ers are absolute trash this season and will not get their life together. I used to keep thinking, hey, if the 76ers just wake up, the Bulls are going to be out there playing. Well, I don't think they are going to wake up. I think they're dead. But is it time to start prioritizing playing players like Modest Buzelis? Like we've already completely said that P. Will, he's really bringing not much to this team at all. Are you willing, even if they want to still start P. Will, are you willing to say that it's time now to start giving more minutes to some of these young guys to see what you have in them leading into this offseason where you may have to make some decisions on some of these young guys? Is it time for that now? Has it been time for that and the Bulls are just late to wake up to it? Or because you don't believe in a lot of these young guys, it don't matter? Like, where do you sit on this?
Here's the problem. Usually I will say this. You have to earn minutes in the NBA.
Yes.
You don't just get the right to play. My problem is I believe Julian Phillips has earned minutes. He's gotten minutes. I believe Julian Phillips is playing the minutes he's earned. I believe Dalen Terry has earned minutes. He's gotten minutes. I believe he's playing the minutes he's earned. I don't think you have young guys that are worth playing much more. Matas Buzelis is different because to me, he's completely shown that he's more efficient in every way than Patrick Williams, especially at least on the defensive side of the ball. If you look at it on the offensive side of the ball, maybe that's a little bit different because he doesn't have the 3-ball down, but I would rather see him take those shots than not. If you want to play a Julian Phillips in P. Will's spot more, or you want to play I'd rather see Buzelis and Dalen Terry. Like, that's fine to me. But while I'm done with these guys, with this group, who's earned the minutes? Who's earned the playing time? Who's earned the opportunity to say, I should be a starter in this NBA? Julian Phillips is solid in his minutes, but he's getting about 15 minutes a game.
I think also it's not necessarily, yes, and I could see what you're saying with that, but somebody got to get him. Nobody's earned minutes. Like, P. Will definitely hasn't earned them. THT hasn't earned them. You can say the same thing about Julian and Dalen. That's fine. Somebody got to play more minutes. Now, we can keep it the same, right? But somebody got to play the minutes. So I'm just saying that because the nature that somebody has to play the minutes, who should those minutes go to?
Unless you fully, I mean, listen, by default of the pick, I would rather see Modest get the minutes.
Okay.
I would rather see him get the opportunity to show that he's more than just a defensive guy, that when you give him a little bit of rhythm, he can actually get into it and he can become the player that we hope that he can be. But out of the three, I'd say Julian Phillips has played the best, and not only should he be getting more minutes, but he should at least be getting P. Will shots. I would rather see that. If him and P. Will flip-flop places, I think you would notice a considerable difference.
Because activity, right? P. Will's just not active, and that's the thing. Like, people make when you get to this conversation, they make a lot about it. Well, they don't run offense and plays for P. Will. Cool, that's fine. But there are 50 other things you can do on the basketball court to impact the game, even if you're not getting plays called for you. And I just don't trust P. Will to do that. I think that Julian Phillips, I think that Matas Buzelis, hell, I even think to a certain degree, Dalen Terry may show more activity out there. Now, Dalen may just be out there running around, and I don't want to see him default back to when we're just like, hey, he was moving, but what did he really do by the end of all that? I don't want to see him get back to that. But
there's a whole lot of hands, bro. It's just like,
Bro, you know what else, bro? The Bulls don't lead the league in very many things. They do in pace. They also got to lead the leagues in, hey, my bad, that was my guy. Because they miss so many defensive assignments, it's ridiculous.
Well, lead the league in a lot of stuff, man. I told you, they lead the league in lies by front office.
Accurate.
They lead the league in terrible inbound calls by a head coach.
That's accurate.
Definitely lead the league in moments where a coach should stand up and defend his team and bubblegum is chewed.
Also lead the league in bubblegum chewed per game.
Bubblegum chewed per game. I'd say they lead the league in worst hairlines. A lot of bad hair on this team.
There's a lot of bad hair
on this team, bro. I'm not gonna stunt with you.
Bro, if somebody had to tell you, if you had to wake up with either THT or Billy Donovan's hairline, which one you choose?
Give me Billy because he had years with it. Yeah, I mean, Billy had like strong hair game. Billy, really, here's the worst part about Billy that I almost feel bad about. Everything age-wise that has happened to Billy happened here.
Bro, if you go back and look at Billy Donovan in his introductory press conference, he had a little bit of gray, but it wasn't completely gray like it is now, bro.
Bro, Billy Donovan legitimately. Remember when Barack Obama went in versus when he came out, and you could just tell that America stressed him out? Like Billy Donovan is just stressed out on a daily basis. Just get to the corner. You're supposed to guard the man in the corner. Whatever. I don't give a. Like, it is the Bulls are just, when you talk about what it's time to do, the problem isn't when's the time for something to happen. It's the fact that I don't think you have guys that can do it. Like, I don't like you sit people.
That's scary because you're not. But that makes it even more terrifying because it's like, we know what we need to do, but do you have the guys that can do it? And honestly, Pat, if that's the question that we're asking,
it's a GM problem. You got to look at AK. Like, let's be real. You sit P. Will. How much better is Julian Phillips
than P. Will?
How much better is Julian Phillips as a player? Just him in general. He gives P. Will's minutes. How much better is he?
I think off activity alone, you get a 5 to 10% boost.
Okay, so he's 8 points per game.
I'm not even talking about point. I don't know. Points per game may end up being about the same, but I think you get more rebounds. I think he gets more steals. I think that he plays better defense consistently than P will. I think you see upticks in that point. If you're talking about points per game, I don't know. Like, it's so weird judging Phillips offense, because there are some games where you look at him, you're like, hey, get this man more shots. And then other games you're like, Julian, just don't shoot it anymore, bro.
100%.
Yeah.
And that's the concern, right? You look at Julian Phillips, you look at Dalen Terry, you look at Taylor Horton Tucker. They're all the same thing. They all feel like the same kind of player. Not skill wise, but like, I'm gonna have a good game with you. You're probably gonna look like P will, worse than P will in a couple of games. The only hope you have is Modest Buzelis. And I'm gonna be real with you, dog. I like the kid. He's
raw. He's very, very, very raw. Yeah,
he's at best a role player. Like, I guess give him the minutes, but like, there's not this, you can bench a guy and put somebody else in and feel good. You don't have that on your team.
Well, hey, you know one thing they do have on their team? Us, because we're going to keep covering this team every day here right at Locked On Bulls. So that's one thing that's going to stay consistent. Pray for us, because we do need your prayer to keep us uplifted while we cover this god-awful team. Pat, any last thoughts before we get up out of here, brother?
We lost by almost 20 points tonight. We were up at the half. And they put 131 on us. That's insane. Shout out to Golden State exposing the warts for all the people that were feeling great after that last win versus the Clippers with no Kawhi.
I hate those people. Thank you guys for tuning in, man. We appreciate y'all for rocking with us and supporting us. You can follow us at Locked On Bulls. You can follow Pat at Pat the Designer. You can follow me at CEO Hayes. Locked On Bulls is free and available on every podcasting app and platform of your choice, as well as YouTube, the Odyssey app, and Amazon Fire TV. We'll catch you guys next. This is the last episode for the week, unless some crazy news drops. Otherwise, we'll see you guys Monday bright and early. Love you guys. Go Bulls, y'all. Peace.
Crazy news. The Chicago Bulls won a game. Whoa!
You know what? Luckily, we ain't got to play none this weekend. We don't have to think about this team for this weekend.
The Philly game is Saturday.
But we don't have to cover it. The Philly